Hello everyone, welcome back. I am excited today because I am going to discuss one of my favorite horror movies, 28 Days Later. This morning, James Rolfe, the angry video game nerd of Cinemassacre, just released an apology regarding some controversy behind his Monster Madness review of 28 Days Later. Apparently his written opinion that he shared in the video wasn't entirely his own opinion, and the video was taken down and is now being rewritten for later this month. It has a lot of fans worried and questioning his videos lately. Fans are complaining that they want him to go back to doing videos on his own. I say, don't turn your back on him. He's done a lot of great things. He's still going to do some great things. Let's hope he moves past this. We can probably help him move past this issue that just happened. In the meantime, since a lot of people want James Rolfe to do a couple of videos on his own in the near future, I would like to discuss 28 Days Later entirely on my own today. I'm not competing with James Rolfe, I'm not starting a rivalry. I admire the work of James Rolfe immensely. I got to meet him 2 years ago and he was a delight to speak with. So today, I'm going to discuss 28 Days Later, and also, while this is a one-man show, I'm going to try to review this rental review style and share some stories as I review the movie. You're gonna like what I have to share today. I guarantee it. I was 13 years old, going on 14 at the time of this movie's release. I remember seeing the trailer for 28 Days Later, and the trailer got me really excited. The way it said day 1, day 10, day 15, something like that, and then 28 days later, and it shows one man walking around London with no one else around. It got me very intrigued, and it made me think that this part was going to happen at the end of the picture. Regardless, I was excited to see it, and my sister was excited to see it as well. Again, I was 13, going on 14 at the time. My sister was a month away from turning 12 at the time, and then I had another sister who was turning 3 at the time. She wasn't going to see this in the theater. So my dad took my sister and myself to the theater. We went to the 10:40 p.m. show on opening night. The audience was packed, so a lot of other people were excited to see this as well. And the movie starts, we get the setup of the virus, and then we cut to the scene of Jim walking through London by himself, and it made me think, whoa, this happens at the beginning of the picture? What a way for the marketing to surprise us. Furthermore, it was 2003 at the time, and you might remember the internet was revamping rapidly at the time. Dirty video websites were surging. Nobody was making no-fap videos back then. So when we saw this in the theater, the scene of Jim waking up in the hospital naked had us all in the audience going, "Ah!" And then one guy in the audience yelled, "Yes!" So anyway, Jim walks through London all on his own. Then he goes to a church and he sees 2 zombies wake up, but he doesn't know they're zombies. He doesn't know they're infected, as they call them later in the picture, because he just woke up from a coma. And he kicks one person away, but he still doesn't know who he's talking to, so he runs out and runs for his life. And I was hooked. Meanwhile, my sister whispered to my dad, "Dad, I can't take it anymore. Take me to another show. I can't watch this anymore." So my dad took my sister out of the auditorium and into a different auditorium to see a different movie, and then my dad went back into this auditorium to keep watching 28 Days Later with me. And I was hooked. The intensity had me really excited, really frightened too, but really excited. So Jim gets out of that situation with help from 2 other human survivors, Selena and Mark. And one thing this movie does really well is introducing each human's emotions and motivations. With Selena, we get a sense that she's this tough chick with a blade. Nowadays, a lot of people compare Michonne from The Walking Dead to Selena, and that comparison is easy to see. The other comparison is that Jim wakes up from a coma at the beginning of 28 Days Later, much like Rick Grimes wakes up from a coma at the beginning of The Walking Dead. A lot of people think The Walking Dead copied 28 Days Later in this regard. Regardless, The Walking Dead has been a great show for what it's worth, and 28 Days Later is a great movie for what it's worth. You can notice the underlying themes of societies, humanity, science, and viruses throughout the storytelling. And one thing that enhances these themes is the soundtrack. The soundtrack has this visceral thrill to it. That's one thing I thought about a lot when the movie ended, was the score. Soon after seeing the movie, we got the soundtrack. And I was also discovering my love for writing at the time, so I would play the soundtrack while writing my stories. It helped me open up my mind and write away. Helped me still love writing to this day. Those of you who have subscribed to me for the last 5 years or longer might remember a review I did on Dreamcatcher 5 years ago, where I said that I would like to discuss 28 Days Later in a review, but it's impacted me in a personal way that I'd rather not discuss at this time. Well, I'm going to go over that a little bit today. In 28 Days Later, the climax involves the military. Jim, Selena, and Hannah, a teenage girl they meet along the way, meet the British military, who are there to protect them. At first, they introduce themselves as serious protective soldiers, as they shelter Jim, Selena, and Hannah. And as we get to know them, we soon find out their true motives. They are lustful. They are secretly trying to get Jim out of the picture while they keep the women for themselves for other concerns. And when I look back at this movie now, I realize that it was also making a statement against lust, against sexual immorality, against sexual violence. And it really does a great job at that, as this military portion sets up for Jim's rampage in the climax. At a time when we had very few movies about zombies that run, this movie featured zombies that run and reawakened the zombie subgenre, as some people said. Director Danny Boyle, when I met him a few years ago at a screening of Trance, he said that he at first didn't want to call 28 Days Later a zombie movie, but later gave in and called it a zombie movie. 28 Days Later was also filmed on camcorders. If you watch the behind-the-scenes featurette, you would see that they filmed this on camcorders because they needed to get the shooting done as quickly as possible. And camcorders were not very advanced back then. This and Open Water from that same year were two horror movies filmed on camcorders that showed what digital video could do and how quick digital video could get a movie done. Since then, digital filmmaking has evolved a lot and is way more advanced today. A lot of filmmakers are giving up film and filming on digital, while other filmmakers are still pushing to keep film alive. And certainly, film is great, digital is great. Nowadays, 28 Days Later is recognized among the great horror pictures. Absolutely, deserves all the praise it gets. It's my favorite zombie movie. I love it even more than George Romero's zombie movies. And it's definitely one of my favorite horror movies ever. If you have seen it, what do you think of the picture? Do you agree with me? Does it deserve the praise it gets? Let me know in the comments section. Like and share if you enjoyed the review, and if you haven't already, subscribe for more videos, hit the bell if you want notifications. I am creating for you. Have a great week and a great life, and always love yourself for who you are. Godspeed.